The gymnasium glowed that night like a dream spun out of fairy lights and borrowed magic. Streamers cascaded from the rafters, balloons swayed against the polished ceiling fans, and the scent of perfumes, hairsprays, and colognes clung to the air. It was prom night, the single evening each year when small-town high schoolers felt like royalty. Girls swished in sequined gowns, boys strutted in rented tuxedos, and the music thudded with bass-heavy beats that made the floorboards vibrate. In the swirl of sparkling dresses and laughter, Lily stood just inside the doorway, her fingers smoothing down the hem of her simple handmade dress. Her gown wasn't bought from the flashy boutique in town, nor was it delivered in a glossy box from some catalog. It was stitched by her grandmother's hands, the same hands that had mended farm clothes for decades. The fabric was a soft blue that caught the glow of the lights like water at dusk. It wasn't designer, but Lily had saved every dollar she earned from selling eggs and jars of milk at the local market just to buy the material. Each seam was straight, each fold made with care. She knew it wasn't what the other girls wore, but when she looked at herself in the mirror earlier that evening, she felt radiant. It wasn't just a dress. It was a statement that she belonged here as much as anyone else. But belonging had never come easy. Weeks earlier, she had mustered every shred of courage to approach Jason Miller, the golden-haired quarterback, in the hallway. Her voice had nearly cracked as she asked if he would like to go to prom with her. The pause that followed stretched for eternity, until it broke with his laughter, sharp and merciless. "Prom, with you," he had said, glancing back at his friends who were already grinning. "Why would I waste a night on a farm girl who smells like hay? Maybe you can take one of your cows instead." The hallway had erupted in laughter, and Lily had felt her face burn crimson. That rejection had scarred her pride, but it hadn't broken her resolve. She decided she would go to prom alone. She would hold her head high, even if it meant standing on the edges of the glittering crowd. And so here she was, swaying gently by herself at the far side of the gym, trying to enjoy the rhythm of the music while avoiding the stares. Her boots, plain and polished, tapped quietly under the hem of her gown, and though she smiled faintly when she caught sight of the decorations, her chest ached with the sting of old laughter that never seemed far away. The other girls glittered like jewels, their gowns cut daringly low, their hair styled into intricate curls. They moved like they belonged, weaving into circles of friends, catching the eyes of boys who reached out eager hands. Lily's presence, however, didn't go unnoticed. A group of girls huddled near the punch table, each one dressed in a gown more dazzling than the next. They were the same girls who had snickered at her muddy boots during morning roll call, who had whispered about the calluses on her palms, who had mimicked the smell of manure whenever she passed in the hallways. Their laughter had always been sharp, and now their eyes glittered as they spotted her across the dance floor. One of them tilted her head, smirking. "Look who actually showed up," she said, loud enough to carry over the music. Another girl chuckled, tossing her perfectly curled hair. "She really thinks she belongs here. In that rag." Their voices grew louder, intentionally cruel, feeding on one another. They strutted toward her, heels clicking against the hardwood like a drumroll of doom. Lily felt her shoulders stiffen, her pulse quickening. She tried to move away, but they were already upon her, circling like predators scenting blood. One of the girls brushed against her, pretending it was an accident. Another leaned in, her breath smelling of fruit punch. "Cute dress," she said mockingly. "Did your grandma make it?" The group giggled, and Lily bit down hard on the inside of her cheek. Before she could slip past them, one of the bullies reached out and pinched the fabric of her gown between two fingers. "Feels cheap," she sneered. Then, with a sudden yank, the fabric ripped loudly. The sound was sharp, unmistakable, and in that instant the music and laughter around them seemed to fade into silence. The tear ran along the side seam, exposing more than Lily had ever wanted, and her hands flew instinctively to cover it. Gasps rippled across the dance floor, and within moments, phones were raised, the glint of recording screens capturing her humiliation. The girls cackled, pointing at the ruined dress. "Oh no, looks like farm girl brought the barn rags to prom," one shouted. Another shoved her lightly on the shoulder, causing her to stumble back a step. Their words stung like nettles, but it was the laughter, the endless laughter, that pressed hardest on her chest. She stood frozen, her hands clutching the torn fabric, her cheeks burning under the glare of 100 eyes. For a moment, tears threatened to spill. She could feel them welling up, blurring the lights into streaks of color. But beneath the humiliation, another feeling stirred, hot, fierce, unyielding. She remembered all the times she had lifted hay bales heavier than her bullies, the mornings she had woken before dawn to wrestle calves back into pens, the evenings when her older brother had taught her martial arts moves on the barn's creaking floor. She remembered the countless hours spent kicking, punching, perfecting her stance while the others were busy painting their nails or gossiping in cafes. Her humiliation twisted into fire. The weight of their laughter no longer bent her spine, it straightened it. Her breathing steadied, her hands unclenched. She lowered the torn fabric slowly, deliberately, no longer willing to hide. They wanted to see her broken, but what they were about to see was something entirely different. The laughter still echoed in Lily's ears like the cruel chorus of a song she never wanted to hear again, but something inside her had shifted. Her hands no longer clutched desperately at the torn fabric. She let it fall to her side, the rip gaping but no longer feeling like a wound. Instead, she stood taller, her back straight and her chin lifted. The gym had gone strangely quiet, the kind of hush that comes when everyone realizes they might be about to witness something they'll never forget. Lily's voice, calm and steady, cut through the silence. "That's enough." The girls who had been sneering just moments before blinked at her sudden firmness. One of them smirked, trying to keep control of the crowd's attention. "Or what? You're gonna milk us to death." The others giggled nervously, but their laughter lacked the same venom. They could feel the air shift, though they didn't yet understand what it meant. Lily's eyes locked onto the ringleader, sharp as steel. The bully took a step closer, emboldened by the eyes on her. She shoved Lily again, expecting her to stumble like before. But this time, Lily's boots didn't budge. She moved in a flash, faster than anyone thought possible. With a swift pivot on her heel, she swung her leg high, delivering a flawless roundhouse kick. Her foot sliced through the air with a whoosh, stopping just inches from the girl's stunned face. The force of it knocked the girl's phone clean out of her hand, sending it skidding across the floor. A collective gasp rose from the crowd, sharp and loud, as if the entire gym had inhaled at once. The girl stumbled back, eyes wide, her confident smirk gone. "Wah! What the hell?" she stammered, but her voice shook. The other bullies froze, their polished nails and glittering accessories suddenly looking small and useless in the face of Lily's raw power. For the first time, the laughter had stopped completely. The only sound was the thud of Lily's foot landing firmly back on the hardwood floor, steady and controlled. She didn't shout. She didn't need to. Her voice, calm and strong, carried to every corner of the gym. "You think I'm weak because I work on a farm? Because my dress isn't fancy, or because my hands are rough?" Her gaze swept across the crowd, catching Jason's startled eyes, then moving past him to the dozens of classmates who stared in silence. Strength doesn't come from glitter or money. Strength comes from working until your muscles ache, from fighting when nobody believes in you, from refusing to let people like you break me. The words rang in the air, and for the first time that night, Lily wasn't the girl on the outside. She was the center of everything. The bullies shrank back, suddenly aware that the audience they had tried to impress was no longer laughing with them but watching with a mix of awe and shame. The ringleader muttered something under her breath, but she didn't step forward again. None of them did. Their heels clicked nervously as they retreated a few paces, trying to disappear into the crowd that no longer admired them. Jason, still leaning against the wall with his hands shoved in his pockets, tried to recover his swagger. "Calm down, farm girl. You're making a scene," he called, his voice strained. But the attempt at mockery fell flat. The crowd wasn't with him. Even his own teammates avoided his eyes, unwilling to laugh now that